What's up, everybody? So here's the thing. At the beginning of my YouTube journey, like 2 months ago, I decided that I wanted to create this series called Pajamajam, where we be jamming about, things that we talk about at our sleepovers, life, love, work, all that stuff, right? And so this episode right here that you're about to watch is episode, that's like 0, basically. Episode 0, the pilot, the number 1, the first one. I gave it a try with my friend Kim, who was gracious enough to trust me and be part of this little experiment, this pilot season. Here's a disclaimer though. After going back and watching the footage, I realized what I expected to happen was that there were these like cuts in the footage and it just wasn't working out. I can't release it as it is. I'm gonna go ahead and blame the fact that I wasn't prepared. My Zoom H4n that I trusted for a long time to grab really great audio footage, it died on me actually when I got there. So we had these mics and everything set up, and yeah, at least I could have gotten good audio, but I couldn't get that either. So I just, we had such a great conversation that I just couldn't let this go to waste. So even though this isn't in my regular style, whatever that means, I just wanted to put out a small chunk of the interview that I was able to salvage, where we talk about Kim's self-published book, Delilahs Daughter. And whenever I have a chance to support a fellow creative, especially a creative of color, I try to do so. And so I just didn't want this this video to kind of just like sit and never see the day of light just because I wasn't happy with it. So without further ado, I'm gonna show you a small chunk of the interview that I was able to get so you can learn a little bit more about her book, Delilahs Daughter, which is already out. And get to know Kim a little bit more. Okay.
Is it gonna work? Okay,
We are doing it. So, welcome to episode 1 of pilot season of this amazing talk show hosted by me on impromptu couches with microphones that don't work. The show is called Pajamajam, and if you'd like to learn the Pajamajam song, there's a song. It goes Pajamajam.
Okay.
All right, you can try with me. Ready? Pajamajam. Okay. Anyways, so this is my friend Kim, and she has graciously volunteered to be my first guest on this show. Yes, what is this show? This show is all about talking about life and stuff. Things you would discuss at a sleepover in your PJs. So some of it's a little silly, and some of it is it's gonna get real deep up in here. So we got our mocha. We already had some good conversations, but I would like to start off clearly because I have nothing planned. For you to kind of introduce yourself, talk about... Actually, I'm going to leave that open-ended because I want you to introduce yourself in whatever way you feel fit. And remember to talk towards the mic because our microphones don't work.
Hello. My name is Kim Davalos. I would say today I identify as a creative writer, person, an educator, soon to finally self-publish, and and a reindeer.
And a reindeer.
Mm-hmm.
I would also, can I add the title of organizer on that?
Yeah,
because you organized. You can share.
Sure. I am the head coordinator for a organization, nonprofit called Rock the School Bells. That I'm the second in line from the founder and creator to take on the endeavor.
So awesome.
Which has been amazing.
So Kim is a bit of a Renaissance person, kind of like me. And we talked quite a bit about politics and identity and creative entrepreneurialism, entrepreneurialism, and all the way to kind of like the process and kind of the how hard it is to get ourselves to actually create and put things out in the world. So congrats on taking the leap to even announce to the world that you're working on your self-published book, right? So talk to me about that, because we haven't caught up about that quite yet. How's that going? Can you share what the book is about, how you decided to publish? What was the process like to even get to a point being like, I need to do this?
Yes. I'll start with, I first want to give gratitude and kudos to you.
Oh, thanks.
For being one of the main people in my life that have really moved me to actually do this. And inspired me and given me the tangible actual resources and knowledge of how to do it. Ever since I met you and you did the biannual magazine that you were doing, I was really inspired and felt like, wow, like this amazing person, an individual, like put something out, created all of this from scratch. Like I could do something like that. So thank you for that. And so I've written all my life. Done poetry, just kind of one of those things, like I needed that outlet to express. I named the book Delilahs Daughter after my mom, which is also interesting because I feel like maybe in Filipino culture, for especially Filipino women, it's interesting because I have a good friend, Janice Pigao, who is going to do the foreword for my book. And she recently is another key person who has inspired me and moved me to actually finally self-publish, because she published her first book a couple of years ago. Sorry, Janice, if I'm wrong, a couple of years, because she's done two since then. But her first one was about her mom too.
Wow.
So I think it's interesting that for us as Filipino women, it seems like the first place that we want to begin at is with our mothers.
Wow.
So in the book, I talk a lot about concepts of home too, and concepts of this thing called return to Saturn. Do you know what that is?
I don't. Can you educate me on that? Yeah.
So that's actually also what motivated me and is holding me accountable to publish. So Janice is actually the same person that educated me on return to Saturn means, and I hope I'm explaining this correctly, that the sun revolves and the Saturn revolve around each other, and about the amount of time that it takes for them to do a full revolution, I guess, is about 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And that in every stage of in getting to the return to Saturn, you're tested at different points. Wow. And like the universe and the energy of the things you put out there are testing you, and if you're able to meet the challenge and the test, you can go to the next level.
Wow.
And that around 30 years is when you'll return to the set, and like this is the big test, the accumulating thing that will allow you to move forward.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So there's a concepts of my mom, there's concepts of home, there's concepts of returning to Saturn, and kind of this full revolution of 30 years coming.
Wow.
So yeah, so the book, I will be publishing it on May 17th, which is my 30th birthday. So that was the big thing.
May 17th, everybody. Plug it right here.
KimDavalos.com.
Yeah, I'll put the link down below.
Down below? That's so cool.
Down below. So what's the process been like for you writing this book? Because I hear writing, writing can be quite difficult to get yourself to do it, and then for me at least there's an enormous amount of anxiety kind of placed around the act of creating, and then even more the act of distributing what I create. So could you kind of share your process, thoughts, ups and downs, anything that comes to mind?
Man, this has been such an emotional, individual project for me because of the writing process, right? And so I'll always write. My writing has definitely evolved in the last couple of years. And in the book, you'll see I'm really influenced, and I give very intentional shout outs to writers. The biggest one is Naira Wahid. It's like, I'm always posting, I'm sure you see, I'm always posting her stuff.
So good.
Salt is like the book that I feel like is kind of my capstone, like closing out book. for my like 20s of going into this next chapter. And so my writing has been really influenced by writers like Nair Wahid, Warsan Shire, Yersa Wadley, especially all these really amazing women of color, African American Black women, really, really influencing me. And so there's that. And so I've been starting to just I love Instagram because I like start to share in that way my writing. And then now in the process of putting it out there, starting in like November, December is when I started to really talk about like putting it out there for people to know I was gonna publish. When I decided my 30th birthday, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna publish, and then started talking to people about it. That's when I started this whole process. So it's been like, 5-ish months now. The process of writing it is what is the anxiety, right? The writing is cool. Because I've always written. Then now it's like this thing of how do you put a piece together? And especially for this being my first piece. Like something that's out there. What kind of like intention and impact do I want to have? What is the message? All these questions that are constantly in my head are really the part that's anxiety provoking. And then the other part that's super anxiety provoking is once I can never finish the draft. The first proof, I guess, the manuscript. Like, so I needed to give it to Janice, and then Lonnie is going to do illustrations on some of the chapters. So I wanted it to be a very collaborative piece with other women of color. And I told them I was going to give it to them last Sunday, and I never did.
Oh, accountability.
And then Janice calls me, and I see I got a missed call, or she never calls me, and I was like, she's calling me about. Because after Sunday, I told them I was going to send it. I couldn't do it because I was like, no, even this is just for them to see. And I know that I can still like mess around with the draft, but still I was like, no, because every time I feel like I'm done with it, like it's almost like there are periods where you don't write at all, right? And now it's almost like, great, now that I have this whole project that I need to have it finalized, every time I think I have the final draft, another poem or idea or concept comes to me, and and what I get scared about is that that's an important concept or something that needs to be in the book, and that it's not in there. Wait, I can't finish it. Wait. But now I'm starting to get like really stressed because my birthday is around the corner. I need to also have it before my birthday to publish, to like actually print. So I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to be missing something that's really important in this first project to have? So that's been.
So how are you moving through that? And then kind of parallel to that is how are you like editing yourself in order to? Because I think I speak for a lot of creatives when we are creatives. So we have so many ideas, and the thing is to sit down and actually do the hard work of editing, refining, and packaging it out to something that we can finally kind of sort of let it go. So what are some strategies you've kind of used, and how are you editing yourself?
Editing in terms of the actual writing?
Yes, and also maybe where I'm curious is editing in terms of you have so many ideas. What goes in your book, and how are you deciding once you put in the book, like how have you managed the anxiety? Because that's the kind of same thing, right? You have a lot of ideas. That you want to include. You're not really sure if it should be in, or if they're not should not be in there. So I'm kind of curious.
It makes me think of the conversation we were having at Arizmendi Bakery earlier
Link
today.
below.
About mission statement, right? So I think I have to ground myself and edit myself in the mission of this book. And so it's broken up in kind of, I guess, pseudo chapters. The book is. How I break it up is by years in my life. Because it's my 30th birthday, I broke up years that, even though the reader might not know, these were like pivotal years for me. So it starts with 1988, the year I was born.
Wow.
And it says, your beauty is generational. Your beauty was yours before you ever were. Because that's when I was born.
Ah, damn, that's good. Wow, that just made, okay, I love that.
So I have these themes, and that's kind of holding me to something. Like, that if it's something that comes to my mind that I feel like I want to add into the book, I have to also check back with, does it fit into one of the main kind of themes that I've kind of filtered out and chosen for this book. So I guess that's kind of where it is. And then so I think about what are some main concepts and messages that I want put across in this book. One is about my own identity as a Filipino American, because I don't think there's a lot of poetry out there that is on a good, like a really big platform. So that's a big one. Being a woman of color, even more general and broad, what does that mean for like all my like fellow sisters and friends? That also I want to make sure their stories that are mine too are included. Then there's another one about healing, the process of healing, which a lot of like influenced by the writers that I read and study. It's a big concept like in our generation that we're talking about right now. So I wanted to add my own language to that as well. Then there's one about, there's one about spirituality, and me coming to terms with like what is a higher power. Do I like to believe in the concept of God? Really pushing myself too with I am coming back to using the word and concept of God. But feeling that of how uncomfortable that is for me. So that's another chapter or piece. And then the last.
Alright, so what is the last 2 sections of her book? I don't know. You're gonna have to find out by checking out Kim's website, getting her book. So again, thank you so much. I mean, in my opinion, it was a little bit of a messy episode. Whatever, my point is that I wanted to support Kim and I wanted to share that little snippet talking about her book that again is out now. I'll link everything down below so you can go check that amazing thing out. That is it. Please subscribe if you like any of my videos. I'm still trying to figure out my cadence, but if you want to follow along for the journey, I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button, not for me, but for Kim. Bless and gratitude to all of you. Let's keep this journey going. Peace.